excellent win for our program, really happy for our players and our coaches, and just a great way to start the 2015 season. Bittersweet from the standpoint of Taysom and his injury, and so the team, part of the elation in the locker room was just wild and excitement, and then the other part was somber and the realization that our quarterback got hurt. And so working through both of those is kind of something happening at the same time at this point. The coaching staff and the players now are completely focused on Boise preparation, and so we're completely immersed in that part of it and looking forward to another challenging and good game. And so I'll take questions if there are some.
The 4 guys that were suspended, are they all going to be back this week?
They'll all be back, yes.
Okay.
How would you compare or contrast what Tanner is stepping into compared to Christian last year?
Wow. You know, I think I'm not sure I can articulate that. I think the expectations after 4 weeks with Taysom and what and whom we've beaten at that point might have escalated the expectations even more than maybe what Tanner's inheriting. Hard for me to say because I don't gauge the outside influences as much. But I do know with the way Tanner played, just coming off his mission, that probably heightened expectations as well. So I'm not sure it's comparable, other than there are high expectations. I'm not sure though that after the 4-game stretch that we had with Taysom and all the attention that was there that had built up, I'm not sure we've quite matched that yet, is my kind of instinct.
How much did you guys talk to him about being ready for this moment in case it happened?
You know, we
obviously hoping it not happen in front of you.
Yeah, we really didn't talk to him much about it. I think our entire focus was just being so excited that Taysom was back, and we had an experienced quarterback, and the chance that we could really go anywhere and play anyone and maybe beat anyone on our schedule as long as Taysom was our quarterback. That was kind of our focus. And if I did learn anything from a year ago, is that our team's identity was and is tied a lot to our quarterback position. And so I think we certainly now have addressed that maybe in a different way and hopefully a better way in terms of now framing the rest of the team of stepping up and doing more rather than just relying on only our quarterback to determine the identity of our team.
Do you have a clear-cut number 2 right now?
If I were to say today, it would be Bo Hodge. That's as clear a cut as I can give you as of Monday at noon. That might be different on Wednesday, but if I'm saying now, that's who I think it is.
How much the adjustment of the offensive approach, how much have you talked to Coach and I about how those adjustments need to be made, and or is it going to be similar in that sense?
I would say it's similar to Taysom to Christian Stewart. It'll be similar from now Taysom to Tanner Mangum. It won't be identical, but that would be a fair comparison.
Are you confident that when Taysom went back in the game that he couldn't re-injure the injury, that it was already broken, so to speak?
So the nature of the injury, and I've learned a lot more from when I just announced after the game, you know, and I was a little premature with that, other than I was just kind of passing on what I was told. But it was made very clear to Taysom and our trainers through our doctors that there is no risk of damaging it further. And so once those words came out of the trainer/doctor's mouth, then it was, Taysom said, "What can I do?" And so then there was a tape job and different things that allowed him to go back and last for a while, but it was made clear to him. I wasn't involved in that at all. It was made clear to him that there was not a chance for it to be worse.
How important is it for the running game to step up more than it did against Nebraska?
Well, I think it's going to be important for every part of the offense to step up more, and every part of the defense and every part of the special team. When you lose a player of Taysom's caliber, it's not just a player now that makes up for that discrepancy or difference. It's an entire team, and that was the main takeaway from a year ago. And eventually, when we got that approach clear and through to our team, we righted the ship. And so that would be the main takeaway, is that every player at every position and every facet of the game now needs to take up that slack.
Specifically the running game, was that more what Nebraska was able to do, shutting it down, or was that more just not seeing what you want to see from your guys? Because they weren't, they didn't have a lot of success.
No, we didn't, nor was it really an intended part of really what the plan was. Our plan, as you saw with the personnel we were putting out there and the quality of our receivers, was actually to throw it more. And so the intent wasn't to be as balanced as maybe what we'd seen before, or what you'd seen before from us. We thought their defensive tackles were very good. We thought their front seven was very good, and we thought the matchups might be more in our favor or a chance for more success if we were on the perimeter.
Boise State has an incredible record against not just you guys, but teams from Utah, the Aggies and the Utes as well. How would you explain that?
I think they have a pretty good record against anybody. They certainly do in Boise, and they certainly do as a program. And I'm not sure if you take, at least since I've been the head coach, now going into my 11th season, how many teams have won more games than Boise over that time. So I don't think it's Utah specific. I think it's nation specific. They have good players. They do a nice job coaching them, and they've developed a great culture.
When you recruit against them, what's their pitch? How do they get guys?
You know, I haven't really paid attention to what their pitch is, nor really, Jay, have we lost many players to Boise. We might have crossed over on a handful is all over the time that I've been the coach here. But really the players that want BYU, they're not choosing Boise over BYU, and we really haven't had much of an issue there.
The exposure you guys are getting from the Hail Mary and whatnot, is that kind of what you wanted from Independence, to be able to go out and play those type of games?
Oh man, I don't know if I wanted it through a Hail Mary, but there's only so many of those you have in you. The last one I think being against SMU, so it doesn't happen very often. At the foundation of the point though is, yeah, the best teams we can play on the biggest stages in front of the most people, and then demonstrate that we have a quality football team, a great program, and it's not only good for our football program, but it's good for the institution and it's good for the church.
Can you tell us what you're going to get back in Tataki and Tomasi on defense in the club?
Yeah, well, what we'll get back from Sione Takitaki is more of a pass rush threat and more of a dynamic playmaker kind of personnel off the edge. And so that's what he demonstrated a year ago, was the ability to pressure the quarterback, and he's a playmaker. He has that capability. And in terms of Tomasi, same thing, a little bit more athleticism on the D-line, blend with some physical play, and so more depth as well as possibly more playmaking ability and athleticism. I would put those two together in the same category.
The tempo was a little bit different than it's been the last couple of years. Is that just to make it with the game and kind of the different feel? Because I think partway through the third quarter, maybe beginning the fourth round, 53 plays, where last few years you've been about 75, 80 plays around that time.
Yeah, I think especially in the second half, Nebraska did a really nice job. Took us a long time offensively to start moving the ball again and to score. And hard to do that if you're coming off the field in 3 and outs or after 2 series. So I'd really credit that more to what Nebraska was doing. And then conversely, defensively, we didn't play very well on the first or third quarters, and so the third quarter, they held the ball for a long time. And so I think a combination of both of those things affected us.
The third and long situation, they seem to convert a bunch of third and longs.
Quarterback was really effective. If there was any surprise to me, I was anxious to get them in third and long, and there was 3 specifically, and maybe a 4th, that I was very impressed by the quarterback and how well he threw the ball. He threw 4 passes that were really accurate and right on the money, where I wasn't so discouraged by how he covered, but I was more impressed by how he threw it. And without those 4, then yeah, possibly the third down percentage looks different. But if I were to take anything away and advise anyone against now playing Nebraska, I was more impressed by their quarterback's ability to throw it than what I had anticipated.
When you did bring pressure, though, he kind of struggled and their whole offense kind of went down. Could you talk about when you choose, when you don't choose?
Yeah, really how well we can play on first down. And when we play well on first down, that opens up the entire ability to then set up calls and be really effective in terms of field position and third down effectiveness. When they were effective on first down, that allowed the quarterback and allowed their play calling to be fairly conservative, relatively low risk of getting enough yardage to keep their quarterback out of that situation. And I think that was by design on their part.
General familiarity with Boise State help you guys get a head start on preparing?
Man, I'd like to say it would, but they're very versatile. They're very dynamic in what they choose to do. There's a number of unique alignments and trick plays, and so certainly it helps rather than playing them for the first time. But it still will be a challenging week to get ready.
With the quarterback having his first road start, is it kind of a feel to get after him, get him off his spot with pressures, or is it trying to really confuse him and make him throw into smaller windows?
Well, Boise's, I think any offense's approach isn't to allow their quarterback to be attackable. And so with the multiplicity of what they do and the way they manage and call the game, and really with how quickly he comes off his first or second look and just scrambles for yardage, they're going to protect him every way possible. And that's part of what they do anyway. So, yeah, he doesn't have experience, but the system will help him a ton.
Can you explain some of the challenges Tanner has faced just from the time frame of coming off the mission and trying to get caught up really fast now?
Well, to Tanner's credit, and what you just framed is he's had to get caught up really fast, and it hasn't been enough time, nor is it enough time to be completely caught up. But Taysom has helped him immensely, and Tanner's ability to study, or his desire to study from the minute he got back, has really helped him. Plus his poise, plus his maturity, plus his individual makeup, that gave him a chance to go out there on his first college game after mission and look like he belonged, and he was having fun. I mean, I talked to him, and I actually wanted him to be a little bit more nervous. He just was, he was just like excited to play, which hopefully he doesn't. What he didn't know then, I hope he keeps that same mindset, because he acted like it was no big deal. I certainly thought it was a big deal.
What do you recall from his recruiting him 4 or 5 years ago?
I remember a lot about his recruiting, and at that time, so his brother was part of the program, and just an amazing family that is BYU, and while he had so much other attention, it was just clear that this is where he was going to choose, this is what he wanted, and it didn't really matter who else wanted him. He was a BYU player, and they're a BYU family.
With Travis out, go ahead.
That's actually the question I was going to ask. With Travis out, what changes are you going to make?
Logan Taele will move into nose tackle. Graham Rowley will move into Logan's spot. And Travis is not replaceable, certainly not as visible as Taysom is, but that's a big loss for the defense.
Assess the secondary, the safeties. It seems like you got a lot more personnel to work with. Michael Wadsworth and now Kind of Cook come back.
Yeah, Michael Wadsworth actually had a really nice game, and I was very impressed when he came in, the way that he tackled and the way the perimeter changed when he came in. So he did a really nice job. To have Kai Nakua back is a big boost. We did not play the perimeter well in terms of getting off blocks and then making tackles, and Kai is very athletic, can get off blocks and make tackles, so that'll be the help.
Any update on Tuiloma's prognosis? Is it still the 4 to 6 week?
4 to 6.
Any other injuries? We saw Manoa Pakula and Jordan Prater left for short.
Neither one of those seemed to be quite doubtful for the game Saturday. So, yeah, I expect them both to be back.
Were you pretty pleased with your special teams play?
Loved our punter, holy smokes. From not knowing how the rugby transition would work and then being a first college game, he was another one that didn't seem too worried about anything other than he was just having fun. So he and Tanner, different personalities, but kind of the same approach. And it was one of the differences in the game. So our punter was very, very, very good. And I was really pleased with that. Special teams overall, I thought, was strong. And off to a good start there.
Last question.
Will you appoint a new offensive captain?
Great question. Taysom and I are still working through that. And really, I would like to do everything possible to help Taysom and the team at the same time. So as much as Taysom wants to be involved, however best it can be for him to handle this unique circumstance, I'll work with him first. And then once that clarity kind of comes in, which will probably be after this week, then we can kind of frame now what leadership looks like. And so need a little more time on that.
Turnout Friday was pretty tremendous, and they said that there were 6 other venues that had TV access to that. Is that the largest that you've had, do you know?
You know, I'm not sure. I remember a few others.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Friday nights.
In Wisconsin.
were broadcast to other buildings, and it really is not atypical, you know, just the connection, especially BYU fans and LDS members, and they're not mutually exclusive, but Friday nights when we leave the state, there's just, it's an amazing turnout, and the players love that, and the coaches love that, and the fans love that special connection we can have, and so it was awesome. And both Taysom and Remington Peck are in charge of the Friday nights this year, and the team is broken up into subgroups. Coach Wintrick is over it, so they're platoons because of, you know, it's Coach Wintrick. But anyway, you know, they're assigned for the speaking, musical numbers, prayers, and all I have to do is show up, and it's really fun to see that.
Blackman gonna give the next closing prayer?
You might have to explain that story for those that weren't there, but refreshing would be the word I would use for that.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks.